you're under me. What happened?
Like, who's this guy?
What?
Oh, you missed it.
Lincoln, you better grab it. Another one.
Just gotta get this rock out of the way.
I can't throw the lens.
It's right there. You see it?
I don't see him.
Right there.
Oh,
Josh!
Josh.
That way.
Whoa.
Oh, you poor.
Oh, Lincoln lost his goggles.
Come back. Come back. Look around. No! Do it! Try to see him under the water, buddy.
Oh, they're gone, I bet.
Now what? I can find them. Nice, bud. Look around. What? Just try to find them.
I think the whole freaking yeah,
Oh, it's a turtle. Maybe it's our turtle.
Uh-oh. John got a little too close.
Yeah.
Is it really a turtle?
Okay, here it comes.
How big is the drop off? Grandma, can you see it?
I don't know. It's pretty big. It's like 2 or 3. It's right there at the edge.
2 or 3 what? Can waves get really like the size up to the size of the mountain, like a mountain?
A big tidal wave? Probably not. You know how big the biggest tidal wave has been? Tidal waves can get really big. Okay, here comes one. I can hear it. I got one. Oh, that's not good. Is it? Yeah, it is.
There are certain parts.
And when those parts are gone,
They're gone. They don't grow back.
can you borrow people's
Stop
feet?
talking.
Truthfully, I didn't know if we'd make it for free.
My name is Suwa Ainugu. I come from the beautiful islands of Samoa. On behalf of the Polynesian Cultural Center, we'd like to welcome you all to our pageant with the long canoes called Rainbows of Paradise. Ohana, please check your machinery. Make sure your laptops, your iPads, your cameras, your phones work, because I know you're going to want to the South on the radio. The Soul Center, the Soul We say Teal Pie, a word of gratitude to our people.
Don't whack your brother. That guy over there can kind of show you some stuff to do. Watch that guy over there.
This next song, entitled Ku'upua Ipo Kalani, was composed by Her Majesty Queen Lili'uokalani while in prison within the walls of her own palace. While in prison, the queen wanted to know what was happening throughout her kingdom, but news from the outside world was forbidden. She had a number of residences throughout the island of Oahu, two of her favorites being Paokalani, located in Waikiki, and Uluhaimalama, known today as the Queen's Garden. She also had a good friend by the name of Kitty Wilson, and what Kitty would do was send her son John to these two residences to gather flowers for the Queen. Upon his arrival to the palace grounds, he would wrap the flowers in the day's newspapers. By doing so, our Queen was able to read up on the current events happening throughout her kingdom. Interestingly enough, this young man later became the 4th mayor of the city and county of Honolulu.
That's Maori music, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
like 45 minutes. And we couldn't catch a wave. And we came back here and this is what they've done the rest of the time and had a ball.
How awesome. Hey, Ollie.
Big one, Ollie, big one! Ow, you keep scratching my foot, dude.
That one flipped him over.
Dang it. I thought it would just hold me. I gotta go wash up.
Is he getting out there too far?
See him doing his surfer paddle?
Yeah. Oh, here it comes.
Alright, good morning everybody. Welcome to the North Shore Shark Feature.
No, I'm not allowed on the boat until I can start walking and talking. Yeah, like sounds like, yep. Tell mom. Tell mom it's okay.
Like that?
I'm done. What?
Well, welcome you to Kamaka, Hawaii. Business was started by my father. I'm Ferrin Kamaka, and my father's name, pictures on the wall, Sam Kamaka Sr. Okay? He started the business 101 years ago. But as far as ukulele's history, etc., we go back much further than that. You're going to have to be here for about half an hour. We'll cover the history of the ukulele as well as Kamaka. England with the Queen there. And in Japan we had Emperor, right? Running, okay? And during that period of time when Hawaii was a kingdom, the only thing we had as an industry here was sugarcane. Now, everybody that came from the Far East, Middle East, Europe, or even America came under contract to work in the sugarcane fields. That's the only industry. 3-year contract. But at the end of the 3 years, you could do whatever you wanted to as an entrepreneur, businessman, etc. But you had to get the 3 years in working in the sugarcane fields. Now, it was a mishmash of different people living because they were put in camps, living in sugarcane field, living ethnically. Now, we all ate the same food, used the same table chairs, but everything was different under different language. So you can imagine, you couldn't understand each other. So we had to develop a composite language where we could understand. When we took words from a different language, maybe 2 or 3, added to English and Hawaiian so we could understand one another. Now, with the groups coming to Hawaii, the second ship from Portugal is very important. 1879, there were 3 craftsmen on that ship. Now, they were furniture makers, first of all. But, like everything else, when you came from Europe, if you worked in woodwork, you also learned to make musical instruments. And they're the ones that came and taught us, showed us violin, mandolin, guitars. The regular instruments being made in Europe. But the instruments by the Portuguese were very narrow and high pitched, based on the violin, mandolin sound. Now, Hawaiians didn't know the instruments from Europe, of course. They knew how to make drums. You cut a coconut tree, dig it out, put a cover on, you got a drum. But you can't use a coconut to make it because it's fibers, absorbs the sound. You have to find some woods that vibrate. And you have to know how to build a box to get the thing. So, with that in mind, they had to experiment and rebut with the development of pidgin, the composite language. They were able to figure out how to do things properly. Now, This man actually designed this little instrument, the ukulele, here in Hawaii, about 1890. And this particular one was made 1900, the turn of the century. Now, my father and 7 of his friends wanted to imitate what the Portuguese were doing. With the breakdown in language, they were able to make instruments that were passable. Now, the funny part about it, my father was never interested in playing it. He was more interested in the violin, mandolin, and guitar. He became a professional musician, but he made this instrument like the other 7 friends of his. By 1910, they were novices. They weren't manufactured. But my father was a professional musician with 3 instruments by then. Had a chance to go to New York, get a job, earn a lot of money, come back and, be a big chunk. He went, got stranded there because the guy had invited him to New York, didn't really have a job for them. He was waiting for them to get there to publicize themselves and get a job, and he would add as a manager. Skim the money off the top of his buck. Excuse me. But he didn't have it. And my father and his friends had to find a way home. The only way was to go across the Hudson River to New Jersey, where the vegetable gardens were. Earn money to buy a train ticket across the country, a boat ticket home. Well, my father was too embarrassed to come home. He had promised family, friends he wasn't coming back. He had made a name for himself and had a lot of money. So he took the money he earned and went across the other way. He went to Europe. He's the only Hawaiian who went to Europe to find out how the rest of the Europeans made instruments. And most of them made it bigger, thicker, different sounds. He spent 5 years traveling all over Europe, learning how the different ethnic groups built instruments. And most of them did it differently than the Portuguese. Plus the fact, he saw how people did business with one another. He learned how to do things internationally. And I never forgot that, because what he learned would come in handy later on in life. He came back, beginning in 1960, and opened his shop, but he knew how to make bigger size instruments and different sounding instruments. 10 years down the road, he came up with a singer. Showed the people up. Somebody said it looks like a pineapple. Yeah. A woman artist friend painted it. My father was given credit for design of a different shape for painting the ukulele. But the biggest thing was the sound. Now, how many play the ukulele? If you do, you recognize the sound based on an old verbiage. Right there. My dog has fleas. Yes, man. But this sound from this ukulele became the premier sound series because of learning instruments all over Europe. It is not the shape that's going to give you the sound. It's the building of the box for the interior volume. When the interior volume is the same, you're going to get the same sound. So, 1926 sound, a little fuzzy. All ukulele makers in the world shoot for this sound today. Now, that's pineapple, figure 8 today. Again, the pineapple, figure 8. The box is entirely different shape, but the sound is the same. Volume versus shape. You go to the next side, and you get the volume is true, you get the same downward free sound. And so with the tenor, it's still basically 1926. So all ukulele makers in the world today shoot basically for that side, that south. Doesn't make any difference the size, but the sound has to be built for the south. Okay? Now, nobody in the world knows where this one is. Number one. Nobody. Even the Nunes family. Here. But you know where the first pineapple is. 91 years old. Now, see, when we became part of the United States was 1900. Actually, President McKinley signed the annexation bill the year before that, but we consider it 1900, the changeover year, as the first full year of part of the United States. Now, America didn't know this instrument until our musicians took it to America, like my father went 1910. Guitar makers, Gibson, Martin and Company, Harmony, saw this instrument. They told people, forget it, it's a toy. Because they were busy manufacturing guitars and making a lot of money. This wasn't a threat, but pretty soon, a couple of manufacturers, Favela, Benson and Company, started making ukuleles, became popular because of Charlie Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy, all these old-time musicians, they all played the ukulele. Pretty soon people were playing and it became very popular in the teens after 1920, up to 1930 with Big Depression. And because we know when you went to college, two things you had to have, you know, to be one of the crowd. You had to wear a coonskin coat, number one. Number two, you had to have this ukulele in your hand. If you didn't have the two, forget it. Don't go to Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Dartmouth, Cornell, Columbia, or Brown, prestigious colleges, because you had to be one of the crowd with those two things. Remember, 10 years ago, everybody going to college wore jeans? But the jeans had to be shredded at the bottom, and you put patches on the behind. Or else, forget it. Don't go to college. You're out of style, okay? Now, big 1930, big depression. Nobody had money to build or buy. Favela, Benson and Company were completely bankrupt. Gibson, Martin, Harmony went back to making guitars because they knew they could sell it, because they had a theory. They could sell those instruments. Because there were guitar makers from the area 1800. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of my father's shop, 1930. Anybody here alive then? Well, you lost out. 1930. You lost out. This is stockings, ready to go. 1930. How much? $5. You could walk in my father's shop, put $30 on the counter, walk home with 6 Kamakas, 1930. Kept them today, you'd be $6,000 richer. Because it costs almost $1,000 to make one. Because the cost of everything, including the wood, is very expensive. Now, there's a little guy there.
There you are.
That is Ish. I raised my hand when I asked the question. I was alive. I was 5 years of age. Not old enough to go to school, but by golly, old enough to work. No child labor law. Today you're going to be 18 before I allow you to go back. Now, we had to sell those ukuleles someplace to stay in business. People were going out of business right around us. But remember I told you my father had studied in Europe how to do international business? So, he sent those ukuleles someplace. And these people right here have the answer. Where are you from? Where are you from? Japan. Oh, yeah! That's where my father sent the ukuleles. We're the first ones to ship our instruments to Japan. Way back in the teens and 20s. Okay? Now, if we sold it to you for $5, how much did we sell it to Japan wholesale?
No.
Anybody?
2, 3,
What?
3,
Three. Okay.
4.
Uh,
6.
2.5.
2.5.
1.5. But we didn't pay for transportation costs. They did. We didn't pay for customs and stuff. They did. We got $2.50 per instrument we sold. And that's how we stayed in business.
It's incredible.
Nobody was earning. Nobody knew how to get rid of the instruments. But my father learned how to do international business 5 years in Europe and made good use of that. And except for 3 years for the Second World War, we've always done business. Japan has always been a good customer. And it's easy to remember because our name is similar. Japanese name Tanaka, our name Kamaka. Now, go back to working. This was the end of the Industrial Revolution when we became part of the United States. So you can remember pictures of British factories with a central shaft and belts to all the machines. Japan had the same thing. Only thing the shaft, instead of being up high, was on the ground. But he still had belts. And that's the way my father's shop was. And my brother and I, working for my father, had to learn to put the belts on. And if you're not careful, belt put you in the bandsaw, table saw. You could damage your hands or lose digits. I got them all. I have a brother who's going to be 95 in 2 months. He's got them all. He lives next door to me, so I see him all the time. My father insisted we learn to build instruments correctly and say, we're very careful, hurt your hands and whatnot. But was a way of life then. Now, we worked for my father all the way through high school. How much did we earn?
Nothing.
He furnished the house with slip-back, food for the stomach, clothes for the body. Transportation, we live on it. You still do, on the side of the mountain. Over the mountain to his shop, he gave a street cafe, go to school, come back, go to work. You gotta go to work before he could go home and eat. But he didn't have to furnish lunch 5 days a week. The federal government gave you free lunch, but you had to go to school for 6 hours a day to learn English. See the trade-off, English, free lunch?
Food.
That's the only thing my father didn't have to pay for. It was furnished by the government 5 days a week. So, with the big depression, actually ukulele playing came to a stop in America. But there's one man who brought it back into existence. Now, we only go as far as the end of the Korean War, which is July 53. Actually, we go to December 53, because that's when my father died. My father only ran his business from 1916 to December of 1953. 37 years. That's exactly 1/3 of 101 years, which is today for us. Okay? But he ran it for 37 years, 1/3. Somebody else had to do something. So, well, the second era, I told you, one man brought ukulele making and playing back into existence in the United States. He taught ukulele radio first. The first one to teach ukulele TV. Now, when did TV come into existence?
49.
1950s.
A little late.
48.
48. Why? That's the year I went to college. And I stopped in Los Angeles and saw my first TV. It was just a little box but it was movies being showed. But it was first TVs. So I knew 1948, 49 was the first year. But this guy is a big guy this way and this year. And he taught ukulele through the 1970s. So you could see him on TV. His first name is Arthur. Arthur who?
Godfrey.
Yep. That's right. Arthur Godfrey. He's the one that actually brought ukulele playing back because he taught ukulele radio first and TV. I can see him, big guy on TV with the ukulele teaching us to play, all the way through the 1970s. So he's the one that actually brought the... Now, in the second era, we were changing. We're building machines with separate motors. So my father had to hire an electrician But knowing my father, he wanted everybody he hired to make ukuleles. Well, he can't do it with a license. He's only licensed to do electrical work. But my father didn't want a guy just sitting around waiting for a machine to burn out so he could rewire it or plug a plus, move it around. No, he wanted to do ukulele making. You can't do that with an electrician. He could sue you because he's only required to do one job. He's got a license for it. Well, my father had sent me to mechanical art school to learn how to build this machine with motors. So I knew something about electricity. I don't know. I know to hook things up properly. So he looked at me, and because I was working so hard for him, he said, "Oh, you can also be an electrician." Made me become an electrician also. I didn't want to do it, but then I thought, when I get my license, my father's going to finally have to pay me. He won't have to pay my brother. But by God, if he doesn't pay me, I could sue my father. I can see the wishful thinking other people have children. Okay. I graduated my license and I wait for my father to tell me how much he's going to pay me. 1 week, 2 weeks goes by, he says nothing. 1 full month goes by, he still says nothing. Second month, he sits my brother and I down one night at the family table and says, "I have some papers for you tonight." Ah, that's easy thing, you know, you just do what you sign the paper. And my father with a smile said, "I have just made you partners with me in this business. We are now known as Kamaka and Sons." And then came the big surprise. "You two are ukulele makers for the rest of your life." And my brother and I looked at each other and said, "Oh no, we just moved up another level, but we're still going to get paid because he's still the boss." So 6 months later, we got locked out. We were drafted, Second World War, and the government gave us a way out. We stayed in service long enough. We could go to college, paid for by the government, called a GI Bill, and get different careers. That's exactly what we did. We got away from my father and stayed away for 8 years, from the end of the Second World War to the end of the Korean War. My father called us home because he was dying in December 53. Had nobody, no daughters, all he had, but he had 2 sons, and he kept the business as Kamaka and Son. So although we're absent owners and got no money, we're still part of the business. So he called us home. I had gone back from the Korean War, I stayed until the end, and my brother was just about ready to get a lifetime job as a scientist with a PhD. When my father called on his deathbed, he said, "I don't know if you two thought of taking the business because you're still part of the business, Kamaka and Son." He said, "But if you do, remember, you're doing it in the family name. Don't you dare ruin that name by making jump." See, my father was a perfectionist, well respected in Hawaii. He would rather destroy an instrument than sell one that was damaged. So, and he taught us to do things correctly, and like I said, safely. He died the 3rd week in December 53. January 1st, 1954, my brother and I took over signing the business. My brother never got his PhD. He took over running the business because I had to finish my time in service. And then I got out and resigned it. Now, before we go, Arthur Godfrey, the biggest ukulele is designed for Arthur Godfrey, and it's designed by guitar players with a tuning like a tenor guitar, 4-string guitar. It's not tuned like my Dorcas Fleas. All other ukuleles are tuned to my Dorcas Fleas sound. But that is designed for Arthur Godfrey, and that came up. Now, during our period of time, my brother and I ran the business 46 years, 9 years longer than my father. See, my father ran it 37, we ran it for 46. And during those 46 years, we designed the last 3 models that will be designed and be manufactured all over the world. First of all ukuleles were single octave like this. Even the baritone. The first double octave instrument was designed by my brother Sam Jr. 1959 for Stater. It's a 6-string tenor double octave. That's the first double octave instrument designed in the world. Then 1967, my brother and Herbert Otter designed the belt-shaped ukulele for picking purposes. Otter-san uses his thumbnail to play the ukulele, picking. And the last ukulele we designed in 1975 was the 8-string tenor double octave. Those three models were the last ones designed during our period of time that we ran the business. Before the Millennium, the board of directors at the Ukulele Hall of Fame Museum decided to include my brother and I as the only second generation ukulele makers that continued the business throughout the world. Even though we were absent for 8 years, they considered us as part of the business. Well, we didn't earn any money that years anyway. But so the two pictures of we joined my father, Ukulele Hall of Fame Museum. Now, most of the people in there are musicians like Hal Leonard, 1920, Wizard of the Ukulele. Cliff Edwards, in all the early movies, every movie that you had with a guy playing the ukulele was Cliff Edwards. He was a multi-millionaire. But those guys blew the money faster than they made it. You know the terminology, easy come, easy go. That was permanent by these musicians in those days. Arthur Godfrey's in there, of course. He's got to be. Now, as of the beginning of this year, there were only 3 musicians, live musicians, ukulele Hall of Fame. All the other ones that have been were all dead. But last month, 2 of the 3 musicians died. One is Eddie Kamai, one of the oldest musicians here in Hawaii, ukulele player. We just saw some movies that he had shown that he developed based on ukulele making, played in the islands, 6 of them. 6 of the movies. I watched those last week. And the other one is Lyle Ritz. His book is right on the top. The orange book on the top shelf, Lyle Ritz. He's from California, and he's the only baritone Arthur Godfrey ukulele player that was in Ukulele Hall of Fame Museum. The only one left is Otter-san, the one my brother and I designed that belt-shaped ukulele. This is a picture of Herbert Otter and his son today. His son was just in the shop the other day, 2 days ago. Herbert, he's the one that perfected playing ukulele with his thumbnail. If you heard a song called Song of Anna, played with the Boston Symphony Orchestra, that's it, with his thumbnail, picking the ukulele. First one, okay. Now, the modern year, the year 2000. My brother and I, during the whole period of time we ran a business, 46 years, we used a mechanical way, the way I was taught in high school. Changed it with different machines, etc., in order to get the machine, instruments all done. But the year 2000, it was the incoming of computerization. We turned the business with our 4 sons. So they have run the business for the last 17 years. And that's what you're going to see when you go in the back, how things are being done today, and most of it with computer. We have been in this location, and that's why we're so small. We've been here 57 years. The only other place I showed you was a picture with my father. That was about 3 miles that direction, closer to Waikiki. So this is only the second place that we've been in business. So you're going to be taken by one of our sons, probably my son will take you through and the back. And my time is up. I want to thank you very much. Now, one of the things, we have time enough. Well, one of the things, if you want to take a picture of family-wise with me, we can do it. So,
50s, not a lot of people were hiring handicapped, but my grandfather did have a history of hiring handicapped. So my uncle said, sure, I'll hire them. And they ended up being some of our best employees. They stayed with us between 40 and 50 years. But one of the things they would do is they would see Sam tapping the ukulele, and they'd say, what are you doing? And he'd say, well, this is a good one, this is a bad one, this is too thin, this is too thick. and pretty soon they could feel it in their fingers. And so before I was born, up until the mid-'80s when they retired, the neck was being put on by a deaf person. And so a deaf person was doing our final sound check before.
Okay, go over, guys. Give him the money. Go over buying, Ollie. Get in buying. Ollie. Lincoln. Lincoln. Closer.
No?